Let the meltdown begin. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing as we pick up the pieces following a wild night of fights Sunday night in Brazil. And next time they hold a fight card in Brazil on a Sunday, I'm going to be taking the underdogs. As we only had one favorite get there. The UFC has been being crushed and hit hard by gambling squares out there that don't even follow the UFC, and they're winning every card because of all the favorites that consistently win. Well, not this week in Brazil, including an epic comeback by Dan Henderson. I thought Henderson was done. I was thinking to myself that Henderson should probably just retire. It's going to be his fourth loss in a row. He's getting beat up by Shogun pretty good. He's lucky that Herb Dean allowed the fight to continue. Otherwise, this fight would already be over. And then, bam! You know, Shogun's got a broken nose. So we're going to break that down. We got some Bellator. We got some World Series of Fighting. We got the Detroit superstar, Daron Cruickshank's going to join us. Joey Odessa from Costa Rica. Some kick-ass videos of the week. All that and more on tonight's MMA Meltdown. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's bring in a man who is called the Detroit Superstar, kicking it in Dearborn, Michigan. He's slotted to take on Eric Koch. That's May 10. That's fight night. That's in Cincinnati, Ohio. Daron Cruickshank steps up and in. Hey, what's up, Daron? Thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
So, Daron, yeah, we're excited for this fight against Eric Koch. There should be a ton of fireworks in the octagon, but first things first, congratulations on a highlight reel win against Mike Rio. And I got to ask you, man, and you're somebody that you love to take people out. Obviously you want to kick them in the head and take them out, but it's pretty difficult to do. So I imagine the rush just must be over the top when it actually works. And it must be like a grand slam, a slam dunk, a one-time slap shot, all rolled into one. How cool is it to win a fight like that?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I try to put on a great show every single time. And, you really see the training that I do come out in my fights. And, that's why I'm so exciting.
Now, you mentioned, you're there to put on entertaining fights. And I've heard you say, if you're putting on an entertaining fight, there's a good chance you're probably going to end up winning the fight. The UFC recently changed the fight night bonus structure, and I think it's a great move. I think it gives more people an opportunity to win as opposed to just sort of getting locked in. You've been pinched before in the past in which you've been worthy of it, but then maybe another fighter who will get it that's, one of the guys that normally gets the bonuses. This sort of opens up the door for everybody. Better opportunity to score a bonus now, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like, it was kind of designed for me. I feel like this is a great move for the UFC, and it's a great move for me as far as the bonuses. I feel like, I potentially could have two of these already. So, I'm pretty happy with their decision to move to performance of the night instead of, knockout or submission. So I'm excited to fight on this upcoming card, May 10th, and try to win one of those.
Now, were you sitting in the room? Because I've heard stories of fighters sitting in the room after. You're almost like a gambling man. I'm a gambling man. I actually bet on the fight. So imagine some fighters know what it feels like, except with a little bit higher stakes, as you're watching the rest of the fights thinking, man, I hope every one of these fights just sucks from here on out and nothing else happens.
Every single time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't wish anybody to do bad, but just not as good as what I just did.
No, exactly. You want to be the company guy. Nobody wants to say, I hope you guys all suck tonight. Like you said, nobody gets hurt. Nobody gets hurt, but at the same point in time, nothing spectacular happens. And, I just got to imagine sitting there thinking, it's out of your control at that point in time, but I imagine it's a pretty still stressful watching the rest of the fight card go down.
Oh, yeah. It was really bad that the Henry Martinez knockout and Deez Edwards knocked out Jeremy Stevens that night, and it was like a hook, and he had to kind of follow him down. I'm like, yes, I had a one-hitter quitter. I think I got it, and then, no, I didn't get it.
And it's kind of a screw job, actually, because let's be honest. if there's 2 knockouts of the night, or there were a couple of them before, it generally went to the bigger name fighter who was on, the top end of the card.
Right.
GSP used to win fight of the night all the time when, and people were walking out of the arena in his hometown. Not a criticism of George St-Pierre, but they weren't exactly all exciting fights, but it was almost automatic. And GSP gets the bonus. I really like this format. I just think for guys that are on the prelims and everybody else that, hey, 50, 60K makes a huge amount of difference as opposed to it does one of the champions that are already making 300-400K.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me, that's life-changing. So that's my plan is to get one of those to pay off all my student loans. So, trying.
So you get Eric Koch coming up right now. Now, here's a guy, I know you've fought guys in the past that they sort of wanted to neutralize the stand-up game. Let's try to take him down. Let's not get kicked in the head. Eric Koch's ego seems big enough that he's just going to go in there and try to take your head off. And I think it's almost tailor-made for fireworks and fight of the night type of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great fight for me. It's a good opportunity to show my skills against another person that supposedly has some powerful stuff. He's moved up from 145 to 155, so I don't think he's going to be used to my strength and everything. So, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we put on a great show and he's on the ground and I'm standing above him,
And, we've seen your power, obviously, in your feet. Is that going to be a difference for you? Do you just think you're going to be the stronger fighter in the octagon against him?
I would, in my head, I'm the strongest person in the world, so, and the fastest. So, obviously, I think I'm going to be faster and stronger and better in every way. That's just my train of thought, and that's just how I live my life.
Daron Cruickshank with us.
Not to mention the best looking, too.
So, overall, well, you got to be confident, right? I mean, I never spoke to a fighter that goes in there and says, well, I'm not as good as Eric, and I'm just sort of happy to be here, and whatever happens, happens. Although, let's be honest, Daron, some fighters, they're not going to say that publicly, but some guys probably don't think. You can't tell me there's not some guys that have confidence issues in your sport, and the mental aspect of it is just so freaking huge, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I try to be the most positive person in the world, and even in practice, guys, sometimes guys hit me, times I get taken down. Everybody has bad days, but in my head, I always have a great day, even though I don't sometimes. So I don't ever remember losing a fight.
So are you saying, that sounds to me like an outsider here, that you might need,
I just forget about it.
You might need somebody else to come in here, and I was going to ask you.
Right. I try to explain it to people. I have that Cartman complex, he that's one thing, but then sees a completely different thing happening,
So, I've known guys like that. And hell, when I was younger, I was like that, in a couple of bar fights, getting my ass kicked, but keep on getting up. No, this third time will be different, And sometimes too much confidence, but, basically when guys that train in their own gym and work out of their own gym, it's like working out of home. And, working out of home is good for some people, but maybe they develop habits working at home that they wouldn't have elsewhere. Is that something that you guys, think about going in, shake things up a little bit, try to bring new people in and mix up and get some outside perspectives? Or do you like the close-knit circle that you got?
I do like to go to different gyms and things like that and travel just to get different looks. But when it comes down to a fight camp, I like to stay where my roots are. I wouldn't change anything up because, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I work with my dad every day. I mean, he's my striking coach. He's like my head coach. So, and he's getting old. I mean, he's like 60-something now. So I don't have too much more time with him, as far as being able to move and hit mitts and drill with me and things like that. So, I try to do as much as possible with him for the time, that I have with him. So, when it comes a time where he's not able to do it, he'll be sitting on the sidelines yelling at me still. He just won't be able to jump around and stuff anymore. He's kind of like Yoda right now. He kind of walks around real slow and stuff like that, and then when he gets on the mat, he's like jumping around and he's like breaking a sweat and everything. So it's all good.
No, your accuracy is pretty good, but I gotta wonder. I've seen dudes, they're holding the pads, they're holding the mitts up. Accidents have to happen. Have you ever kicked your old man in the face accidentally?
Oh, I've smoked him. I've smoked him in the face with my foot, and it's very rarely that I actually do hit him because he's pretty fast himself. I mean, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so I got it from somewhere, and he's definitely part of where I got it from. He rarely gets hit. He catches things just as fast as I can throw him out there.
And that's why I've seen videos with you, and there's always a talk show host somewhere that, hey, can you kick me? Can you do this? And I remember the old videos with Chuck Liddell. Hey, can you punch me in the arm? And I'm thinking, why would anybody want to do that? Why would you want to get punched by Chuck Liddell or get roundhoused by Daron Cruickshank? But to hear you say, oh yeah, no, I've missed. I've hit my father before. That's a memo to any talk show host out there. Don't do it, man. Bad things can only happen.
Right. I mean, we do it for a living, so.
All right, so Daron, we're going to take a quick break here on the Fight Network, and we'll come back. I wanted to ask you about your love for firearms and your proficiency for firearms and a challenge that you threw out there for Cowboy Donald Cerrone. Daron Cruickshank's kicking it with us on MMA Meltdown. You're watching the Fight Network. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues, as does our conversation with Daron Cruickshank. So, Daron, I mentioned going out of the last segment, your love for firearms. That you did a video with the Fight Network's Robin Black, and we're on the Fight Network right now. And I love the video. It's great stuff. You're showing them, some kicks, and Robin's great at picking this stuff up. Nobody does this as good, but there's a great part of the video where you spin around and you're packing heat. Your T-shirt goes up, and I'm thinking, I've never seen that before. I never watched an MMA, training video, and the dude's fully armed, while he's shooting the video. Then I thought to myself, well, the guy does live in Detroit, so I'm assuming everybody's armed in Detroit, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way the video went down, it was real spur of the moment, and there's a lot of people in the United States that have CPLs and carry and legally carry, and that's our right as a U.S. citizen, as a law-abiding citizen. So, he caught me as a spur of the moment, like, hey, can you show this? And I was at Uriah Faber's MMA draft, and I wasn't working out or anything, but he asked me to do it, so it's spur of the moment. I'm not I don't really want to make a big scene and take my firearm off. I was hoping it would stay under my shirt, but obviously it didn't, and it made a big splash. So I mean, it is what it is. But I'm from Michigan, and we are a gun-loving state, and we got all kinds of cool stuff. So
that's the thing that's always surprised me about Michigan. It's more redneckish than people realize, isn't it? People think in Detroit. And you got Detroit, and people have a perception of what Detroit is all about. I've been there numerous times. I have nothing but kind words to say about the city of Detroit. But when you get outside of Detroit, you get into that Ted Nugent type of stuff, as you mentioned. Everybody hates the president, and everybody's packing heat.
I don't think everybody hates the president, but yes, everybody is packing heat. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are crazy, and they're getting ready for the apocalypse for real. I just joke about it, but they're really packing water in their basement and stuff.
Yeah, they're believing that they're going to be coming for their firearms soon, right? And I'm a big believer in that actually too. I think that the future of our civilization isn't a very bright one, Daron. But I want to ask you. So you threw out a challenge, Cowboy Cerrone. Well, he's called the Cowboy. You know, he thinks he can handle a firearm pretty well. He likes to live on the extreme edge, and you threw the challenge out there. From what I understand, he said on Twitter, all right, let's do this thing. So what's this all about? What are you guys going to do? How are you going to do this?
Well, they're the three-gun competitions that I do. It involves a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol, and you know, it's basically based on speed and accuracy. You got to go through different, there's all these different targets and you got to go through and knock all the targets down, or they'll have no shoot targets, and whoever does it the fastest wins. And you might be using 2-3 different weapons on each range, and you do it all day and add up your scores, and whoever has the fastest time wins. I put out there because, Donald Cerrone's always been like, he made it to the UFC. He's made a name for himself way before me, and I've been seeing him come up and through the years watch him fight. It's kind of like a idol, I guess. And he always posts pictures of him hunting and shooting and stuff like that. And I'm in the UFC now. I've kind of got a name building. And I've been shooting for a few years now, and I wanted to put out a little friendly challenge to him. And being he thinks he can outshoot me, he's gonna say yeah, and I'm just gonna have to teach him that guys from Detroit know how to shoot better than guys from Texas.
Yeah, this is great. This is the classic inner city versus cowboy matchup, man. This is awesome stuff. And now, I've been to a gun range before, and I really embarrassed myself pretty badly while at the gun range. But I can't even imagine the moving target aspect of it. Now, we see in the Olympics how cool that stuff is. These guys are skiing and stuff, jumping off the skis. Their heart rate is going, and then they got to calm things down and then shoot the targets. And that's just awesome stuff right there. But moving targets must just be incredibly difficult, man.
Oh, it's you like watch the movies and things like that and see like these crazy gun shootouts. It is nothing like that. It is so unbelievably hard to hit targets while you're moving or while the target's moving. At different ranges and size of targets. It's crazy how big of a difference it is, like when you actually put something in your hand and you try to hit it.
So you're talking, there's different guns. So rifle, shotgun, and pistol. I'm assuming that pistol is the gun of choice. But how do you handle the shotgun and the rifle in these situations?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty proficient with all three of them. I did a couple pistol matches when I was younger. My dad got me into it when I was younger, and then I really picked it up a lot more last summer, and been loving it. I mean, it's a blast when you got all three all together, because they have pistol matches, they have shotgun matches, they have rifle pistol matches, but the 3-gun where you involve all three different types, I feel like that's like the MMA of shooting. It has all three types of weapons in one little area instead of just how we have boxing,
yeah.
We have kickboxing, we have grappling. That would be like all single by themselves, and then 3-gun matches are where you're using all three. It's basically just right up my alley. So it's I like it a lot. It's so addicting.
And you shoot where the target's going to be. It's almost like in hockey. Wayne Gretzky said, don't go where the puck is, go where the puck is going to be. And it's the same thing in an octagon, isn't it? You got a moving target. Right. You got to judge where Buddy's head is going to be in 1.6 seconds, not where it is right now.
Exactly.
Now, we're kicking it here with Daron Cruickshank. So May 10th, I saw you on Twitter stating that the diet battle begins. It's all about, the battle. And how far out? So is it about time now that you start to watch what you start to take it more seriously in the gym now?
Yeah, I really let myself go this weekend. I stepped on a scale at 179.5 pounds, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's. I mean, I'm still kind of far out from the fight, so it's not that bad. I'm not like scared of it, but I feel like now's the time to start cutting my weight, watching what I eat, getting my body fat down. That way, towards the fight, I'm not all sucked up and I feel like crap. So a little more time to prepare and get ready, and I'm going to try to do it right.
How much more confident are you right now? As you stated, you learn lessons, training, preparing for fights, and isn't that so much part of the fight, actually? You got the fight, but the preparation leading into the fight, some guys overtrain, some guys undertrain. You really got to find that common ground. How much are you a smarter fighter right now as a whole than you were, let's say, even 2 years ago?
Oh, I've grown up leaps and bounds, being on the show, learning a lot of tricks from all those guys. And just, in life in general, as far as, I'm not undefeated. I've got a few losses, and if anybody's watched my career growing up, I've learned from every single loss. And, after that, I come back as a better, greater fighter.
Well, this is a great opportunity for you, fighting Eric Koch, somebody that was just recently a top contender, now coming into the lightweight division. I really look forward to seeing this fight. It's May 10th. It's on a fight night, and they're giving the Ohioans a ton of just blue-collar throwdown fights. And pretty cool. I know Michigan and Ohio aren't the best of friends. Hopefully there's not a lot of Buckeye fans there, and that they turn on you. Should be close enough that
it'll be okay.
Yeah. I think you'll be all right there. It was great catching up with you and getting you on the TV show. We spoke a couple of years ago on the radio before, but I know your parents got you into the sport. You're talking about your old man taking you out and pistol shooting as a youngster. You got some pretty cool parents, Daron. Pretty cool parents.
My dad worked for 6 years. He's a blue collar worker, and he brought me up in a pretty humble fashion. And I've appreciated everything he's done for me, and I feel like I've grown up in a pretty well-mannered household, and I am the person I am today because of it.
Hey, Daron, thanks a lot. Best of luck in training, and best of luck on May 10th, man.
Thanks for having me. Hit me up anytime for interviews, and let me thank all my Facebook and Twitter friends for giving me all the love and support that I need.
Hey, thanks for the time, man.
Thank you.
There's Daron Cruickshank with us. Who's, a really entertaining fighter, and somebody that if he can string together a couple of wins in a row here, I think could start to make some decent money and get some big-time fights. And let's be honest here, this is a step up in class, a step up in weight for Eric Koch, but it's a huge opportunity for Daron here, as Eric Koch pretty much is not a superstar household name, but an MMA household name, and one tough son of a bitch as well. And there's going to be some fireworks in that fight. Yet there's been fireworks the last couple of cards, and the cards have been pretty freaking unpredictable as well. We're going to crunch some numbers with Joey Odessa. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. Thanks to Daron Cruickshank for kicking it with us on the program this evening. Joey Odessa will join us in a couple of moments' time, but let's get to our videos of the week. And we've got some pretty explosive, violent, and ridiculously stupid videos for you tonight. Let's start off with some Cage Warriors action, some legitimate MMA, some Cage Warriors action. Cage Warriors 66. This went down this past Saturday, and this is an awesome kick to the head. And, look at the dude, just wobbly, rubber legs and out on his feet.
Nicholas Dolby is the new Cage Warriors welterweight champion of the world.
Great shot. But as your trainer, please don't celebrate by, splashing backwards onto the cage floor. You're not falling into a pool there. All right, this next video, I kind of morally wrestled with myself a little bit with this video, in which I don't really show street fight videos on this program. I stay away from it. And, we show a lot of videos that Middle Easy show. We have the same videos, or we'll take the video from Middle Easy and we openly admit it. We're a fan of their website. But their website's littered with street fights. And, there's a ton of street fights that go on out there. I don't really want to be reduced to showing bum fights from Las Vegas behind the casino. But I always say, you got to be careful when you go to Brazil. I mean, the kid that's selling the peanuts and the beer in Brazil, everybody's a black belt. Everybody knows, everybody knows jiu-jitsu. And evidently everybody knows Muay Thai in Brazil as well. Here's a little street argument that went down in Brazil. And this video has it all. It's great. Like the skinny guy bust out his Muay Thai here. This is my favorite part. Check out the dog. The dog wants to play. Whoa! The excitement of everyone in the street, and the fact that even the basically clothless homeless dude is busting out knees, and he's got the clinch down, the Muay Thai down, the soccer kick to the head. That's frowned upon. That was a little bit much, but so that's just it's a warning for any tourists to go to Brazil. Don't pick on the homeless people, because they're going to knee you in the face. Now, we see in the streets of Brazil, there's cars going by, there's dogs coming. I love the dog part. There's dogs coming in. In Canada, we grow up, playing hockey in the streets, and sometimes a hockey game, sometimes a fight will break out, and this is a great one from, I guess they call it the North American Hockey League. It's basically the Quebec Semi-Pro League. It's the most violent hockey league in the world by far. Great fight. That's like some Henderson Shogun stuff there. By my count, that's like perfect for countermove.com. Total strikes landed, 284. Those two dudes just stood there and brought it, and then a little high five after the fact. Similar to mixed martial artists. Hey, I tried to take your head off, but after the fact, nothing but respect for the most part. There's our videos of the week, and speaking of respect, everybody respect Joey Odessa's opinion. Coming up next, Joey Odessa from Costa Rica. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. You know what? I really enjoy talking to all the fighters and media types and the guys from the Fight Network on this program, but I'd be lying if I told you I don't always look forward to the end of the program when we send it to Costa Rica. Joey Odessa joins us, the premier combat sport odds maker in the business. Joey, it's always a pleasure. How you doing?
I appreciate that, Gabe. It's always a pleasure here, too.
So, Joey, you know what? One of the things that you've said to me over the years that has stuck out the most is, Gabe, it's not what you know, it's what you don't know when it comes to betting on mixed martial arts. And I think that phrase can be used in regular everyday life as well. It's not what you know, it's what you don't know. And it turns out, I don't know very much, Joey. 2 weeks ago, I got my ass handed to me. The UFC 171 card, in which I loved Condit, I loved Rick Story, I loved all these underdogs, and I got my ass handed to me. And then we fast forward to the Brazilian card that just went down the other night. One of the most unpredictable, bizarro world cards in recent memory. The favorites, as I don't have to tell you, they've been crushing it, Joey. Favorites that were priced above $150 were like on a 22-1 run. And then suddenly, boom, Sunday night in Brazil, you know, who let the dogs out, man? Like, you know, there was thousands of pit bulls biting everybody. It was an underdog, palooza there, Joey. It was insane. Ronnie Jason, who's not even that good, Ronnie Jason, Becerra, he was the only favorite to get there, Joey. The only favorite.
On a wasn't it? It looked like, it was debatable. He probably would have stopped him anyway, but I mean, it was called into question in the end.
Yeah, those Brazilians, they're pretty quick to stop fights when the American guy gets hurt there, aren't they?
Well, I tell you what, it had the other, Carosa, I forget the other guy's name, had there been a different referee in that final, you might have had a different result, because they might have stopped it in the first round.
Yeah, and we
coulda, woulda, shoulda, so I don't like playing those results. You know what I mean? I don't like looking back, and that's why I go with those stat. I always complain about the stat guys. Guess what? We just made up for, 9 wins in a row plus a draw out there. So refactor everything that you put into the card before. I mean, it's all about zigging and zagging and longevity. You just got to pick your spots. But
no, you're right.
It was a crazy card.
You're right. It made up for a lot of the favorites in the past, and it was sort of unpredictable. I believe it was a plus 18 unit situation for the underdogs when it was all said and done. That's a pretty large night if you're taking home 18 units, but it's not as if though everybody bet on every underdog. I started to figure it out after Ronnie Marcus, Joey, was laying like minus 800 and went down, and that's when I was like, all right, this, something's going on. It's time to jump on the underdogs here. I just started to blindly play the underdogs from there on out. That is until I got to the main event that we'll get to in a second. And as you stated, no rear view mirrors, hindsight, it's easy to say now, but you and I talked about this. We said, there's no way this guy should be a minus 700 favorite. And it turned out we were right.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight, 100%, but you know what? There's a lot of things that went in, the things that you don't know. And I recognize that I would say, unfortunately, I missed the Fight Pass card, so I missed the kid from Israel that I thought was really going to get it done.
He was another one, and he turned out to be the first fight of the night, Joey, because of the Diego Brandao fight, the cancellation because Will Chope attacked his wife years ago. So you're right. The Noat got moved up to the first fight of the night. He was like a minus 350 favorite, and he lost, Joey, to start the night off.
And that's, I didn't see the fight, but I started getting upset with the commentary on the TV because they don't understand the difference between odds makers, lines makers, the market. Money was driving this up, but at the same time, you had to recognize, and I realized this was a Sunday card. So these sports books around the globe, and I'll speak for them because I know, because we talked about it off the air about, oh my gosh, this card's on a Sunday. They had the B team in there. All these guys did, and they overmoved on all these favorites. They jacked them up, and that's the art of the number, to generate two-way action. But if the dog does bark, you don't get caught. You don't get caught speeding on the side of the book. You look to, generate some two-way action, get a bet on the dog. I tell you, those late moves, I call them pump fakes. The early pump fakes where they pound that number up and then come back the other way. I mean, look, we saw Hua Henderson. We saw it as high as minus 250, and I saw it as low as minus 130. And the same with those Jan Valente. Open pick'em. This guy opens pick'em, and he's minus 400 at fight time. That's just, something's just not right there. I mean, and it was an honest fight. I mean, I'm unhappy with Valente again. Good job, Hofstra. You know what I mean? Every time I go out on a limb for this kid, he ends up blowing it in the third round. But anyways. You know
what Valente's problem is? He's just not very bright, Joey.
I think it's me. I think every time
I don't know, but why doesn't he wrestle? He took him down once in the first round, and he was skyrocketing in the in-game market. Why would he stand there like a punching bag against a guy that's the one thing that he does well is box, Joey? Like, why?
You know what? I mean, how do Hofstra graduates do out in the open market? You know what I mean? One of these college kids don't have jobs. They're all dumbasses. But no, I agree. I'm not going to coach Joe it and rearview mirror it. But Jan Valenti, come on, Jan. I mean, you open pick him, you close 400. Go out there and represent.
He's a classic example of, he trains with Chris Weidman. And we see this time and time again, in which fighters will train with a champion caliber fighter, but it doesn't mean that they're of that caliber. You know, there's different reasons for it. I mean, Joey Beltran trains with Cain Velasquez. Does that mean that he's a future champion? No, it means that Joey Beltran's got a hell of a chin and lets Cain Velasquez punch him in the face for some reason in sparring. So there's reasons to why people are actually at gyms. Now, we mentioned the main event, and Herb Dean clearly let that fight go, Joey, because of the first fight. The first fight was an epic fight with Henderson and Shogun. And it went the distance. They're both warriors. They both can take a beating. But Henderson was basically done. He was done for. And I'll be honest, Joey, and I should know better because I've been around long enough to know better that it ain't ever over till it's over. But about midway through the second round, I was actually somewhat feeling bad for Henderson, thinking this guy's going to have to retire because not only is he about to lose 4 fights in a row, he's really getting manhandled and beat up. I mean, Shogun was kicking his ass, Joey, for the first 2 rounds.
I didn't feel bad for Hendo at all. I took plus 210, and then I came back and laid 130 and 160. So, I didn't, it's just another bout for me. But what bothered me, and I don't know if it happened all over the world, but at the end of the first round, it cut the commercial. And I didn't know if they stopped the fight or not.
Yeah.
So I had to sit here for, that's like Bruce Buffer when he slow peels those split decision cards. 30, 20, 30. Yeah, you just had Cruickshank on. I remember he fought Edwards, and the 30-27 split decision cards, 2 30-27s on one side and a 30-27 on the other. Well, when they read those, I call them slow-peeled cards, scorecards, anybody that's ever had any kind of money risked on a bout gets that pain down the left arm like Ronda Rousey's getting ready to do damage.
Did you notice, Joey? I caught that, and that's why I had to tweet right after the round. I just said, is the fight over? What happened? And did you hear, as they cut away, you could hear John Anik say, Herb Dean has stopped it. I heard Anik say, I think it's over. Herb Dean has stopped. And then it cut to a commercial, like midway through the sentence there. I know they fought past the bell, the horn, so to speak, because the crowd was so loud.
There was no horn. I don't think there was a horn, which is, that's France boxing. That's, I'm laughing now because I've been on the receiving end of that, and I've been on the right side of that, where they ring the bell earlier, they let it go a couple extra seconds. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what happened in Brazil, but somebody got lazy on the horn, and I saw it happen in France with a Mormick fight where they just, they said, hell, we'll just make this a 2-minute round, and he just blew the horn. And there was no consequences, but it changed the outcome of the fight. And boxing, that is. But, that's the first thing that had popped into my mind when, and they cut the commercial. I was like, wow, this is really, and the point deductions. You know what? It's about time. And I'm not saying that it was, I think they were a little too herky-jerky for it. But you know what? If you're going to grab the fence, these Brazilians, if they didn't stop that fence grabbing, you might not see Jose Aldo as champ, because that fence grab, I still maintain that Mendez was in a really good spot before Aldo grabbed the fence. You're not going to let that one go, are you? That's why when there's not a UFC going on during the week, it's tough for me to go on the air because I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about all the faults, because there's a lot of great things that came out of that card too.
Yeah, we cashed another ticket with our boy CB Dollaway. And there was another huge move with the number, Joey, in which earlier in the day I was talking to our boy Randall in Vegas. He's part of the Dollaway camp. And I said, what's up with Dollaway tonight? He goes, I can't believe he's a plus 200 underdog. And I said, no, he's plus 300 now.
I took plus 175 thinking I was stealing something.
I tried to get it at the plus 300. I clicked and it wouldn't let me. And I'm like, oh, come on. You really? What are you going to do? What are you doing to me here? And then my sports book, I hate when they do that. They made me log out. Oh, sorry, we logged you out. and then I had to log back in.
Here's a little secret. That's because they looked in your account. That's what happens. When the clerk takes it on the phone, the court picks up the phone or logs into the back end of the I know this from, whatever. When they log into the back end and look at what your plays are, you can't be logged in and on the phone at the same time. It prevents people from double popping the sports books. So somebody was looking at your account to see what you were playing, which means somebody at that sports book respects your actions and knows who you are. It's time to set up a ghost account.
I guess so, huh? So there's the
No,
the
it's the
insights.
truth.
I know. No, I know, and I've seen this before. And it happens. It only happens when I'm hot, Joey.
Happens to me all.
Yeah, it only happens when I'm hot, though. And that's why I was like, oh, come on, this ain't no coincidence. So exactly. So I had to log out. I had to log back in. And then when I did try to click it again, I got it at 280 still instead of 300. So I'll take it. But props to Dalloway. Dalloway is a guy earlier in his career, partied too hard. It was out there, on the scene, sort of living the life of what a UFC fighter was supposed to, in his mind, the rock star style life.
The emotional maturity. He's come along.
More of a family man now. He's like, no, I'm about winning. And I love what he said. He goes, I'm not a number one contender. I'm just trying to get there. Give me another fight. Let's go. And Dalloway's the man. I thought he beat Tim Boetsch and he got screwed in that fight. But we only got a couple of minutes left. The time has flown by, Joey. So we got our guy, Shlemenko, fighting, Joey. It's Bellator, your favorite company.
Shlemenko, tough as nails, but again, we got Hector Lombard over at 170 pounds in the UFC. I've done well with Shlemenko. We've been on Shlemenko since he started. The only loss that we've had with Shlemenko since he's come to the U.S. was against Lombard. So, I don't know how many bouts he's had out of his 49. We're probably about 15-1 with Shlemenko. But his fight against Brett Cooper wasn't the most impressive fight in the world. I think it was. And then, he beat Doug Marshall, who is off of this card. The kid that he's fighting is a wrestler. Now, here comes the wrestler bias. I don't see anybody beating Shlemenko in Bellator. Even this guy here, he was a Division III runner-up, which Division III is tougher than Division II, but it doesn't really, in my humble opinion, compared to Division I at the remotest level right now. Can this kid out-wrestle Shlemenko? Yes. Will he? No. Will Shlemenko win the fight? Yeah, he's going to win the fight. He'll probably stop him. Probably stop him, I'd say by the third or fourth round. Looking back, just looking at the styles, I don't want to coach Joe. And one interesting thing about that Henderson fight, to go backwards, not to go backwards, but I got to. Round 3 was the same round that in the first fight where all the drama took place. Henderson almost put him away. Yeah. You recall it was a 10-8 round, I think it was. So when that round 3 started, I had a little bit of those jitters because he was throwing that overhand right. But anyway, back on topic.
I didn't like the fact that Shogun was standing right within striking distance, right in the middle of the octagon like that.
Well, he almost ate a big one right before that too, and I saw it go by, and I said, "Well, that either tired Hendo out."
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it was. But anyway, back to Shlemenko.
All right, so listen.
Going to win this fight. He's going to be a huge favorite.
We only got like a minute left here, Joey. So you like Shlemenko. You mentioned Brett Cooper. He's taking on Kendall Grove. And quickly, your take. We got Steve Carl and Paul Harris makes his debut finally.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Harris, after the Brazilian card, look, some of these guys, there's smart fighters and there's dumb fighters, and Paul Harris doesn't fit in category number 1. So, I don't want to say that, he's going to lose his fight. He's going to be favored. Everybody's going to love him, but, Steve Carl can fight. The other bout there, what's interesting is Rad Martinez is retiring this week. He's on this card against Berto. ESPN, let me just get crazy. Outside the Lines did this huge segment on Rad Martinez. Great kid, Great wrestler, honest athlete, so on and so forth. Why not put him on the main card? I don't know if they bumped him up, but are you kidding me? To pass him up against Berto, no less, whose brother was a world champion boxer who was on HBO. So you have the ESPN and the HBO name recognition, and you got him on an undercard on the internet. Who's in charge?
It's a great.
Somebody smarter than me. I don't know.
That's a great point. No, the UFC are smarter than you, but Rebney isn't. Rebney's
probably got a lot more money than me.
We got to wrap it up right now. Jab, there's blood on it. We got to wrap it up now, Joey. But hey, always a pleasure. Great stuff tonight, man.
Hey, have a good one, G, and best of luck.
There's Joey Odessa with us. He's on fire tonight. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. All right, we're done. Thanks to both of our guests for joining us this evening. The Detroit superstar, Daron Cruickshank, and the MMA superstar, odds maker, Joey Odessa, for kicking it with us. We got Bellator, we got the World Series of Fighting. The UFC is off this week, but the month of April is extremely busy. We got the card on the 11th of Brazil. They're going to Quebec City. There's like 4 cards in like a 19-day span in the month of April. It's going to be great stuff. For all of my Bellator and World Series of Fighting selections later in the week, check out sportsragetv.com. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.